Hi guys, Brian from Boas here. One of the things that people love the most about their pet boas is the beautiful colors. Today I'm going to show you guys some of the most colorful boas from my collection. So this is a user suggested video topic, so thanks for the suggestions. If you have a topic that you'd like to see me make a video of, please keep those suggestions coming. So the logical place to start when discussing colorful boas is the true red tail boa. And these are probably the most famous boa of all as far as the colors. And of course they're famous for the color of one part of their body, of course the tail. So there's a lot of debate about what the most colorful red tail is. But the consensus seems that the boas from Suriname have the most consistently long, red, bright tails. So this is a Suriname true red tail from a bloodline I call the Prometheus bloodline. And this bloodline has a very high level of contrast. It's got a lot of markings on the body as far as background markings and freckles and speckles and markings between the saddles, kind of what I call the dirty look. And then these animals have a really long, bright red tail. When you look at the markings on the side of the boa, especially towards the tail, you have these beautiful red circles. And those are known as the side medallions. The color of the tails of true red tails can vary somewhat. It can be anywhere from a bright cherry red to a deep blood red to an almost maroonish blackish color. And although people gravitate towards the brightest color tails in their red tails, all of the different permutations of the red tail, in my opinion, look very beautiful. This animal has kind of more of a deeper blood red color. But again, people have their different preferences, but as far as I'm concerned, the variety is just a great thing, and there's lots of different looks in red tails that are equally as beautiful and desirable. Here's another Suriname true red tail with a completely different look from the animal I just showed you. This animal was produced by Brian Abramson from crossing Florida red tails and Tuna Hope bloodlines, known as a Tuna Flirt. And this particular animal, you can see, has this very clean overall look with a reduced saddles and kind of a reduced markings, a much more clean and washed out look compared to the animal I just showed you, and the long bright red tail. So just a beautiful animal overall, and very nice animal I added to the collection pretty recently to diversify my bloodlines, and really enjoyed having this animal. This guy is also really laid back and enjoyable to handle. You can see the beautiful pinkish purplish sides that he's got. Just a great animal overall. I'm really looking forward to watching this guy grow up. He's now about 3 years old, so he's probably got another couple years before he's going to be ready to breed. True red tails from other localities besides Suriname are also quite colorful. This is a Peruvian true red tail. This is a 6-year-old female. She is from an Iquitos. She's a farm-bred animal from Iquitos. And she's a very robust and muscular animal. You can see that the overall appearance of this animal, they have this beautiful golden brownish color. The tail tends to be a little bit darker than the Surinames, but still quite lovely. And the Peruvian red tails, particularly the type known to be from Iquitos, are said to have these really blocky, inky black saddles. And I think this female really nicely embodies the traits of the Iquitos Peruvian true red tail. This female I plan on pairing up next year. Hopefully we'll get a litter of Iquitos Peruvian red tails. Just a really impressive animal. You can see she's a bit of a challenge to hold. Definitely one of my more robust animals. But if you're looking for a very muscular, impressive pet boa constrictor, you really can't beat a Peruvian true red tail. One more really colorful true red tail boa to share. This is one from Venezuela, and the Venezuelan true red tails are harder to find overall. They're not quite as well known as the Peruvians and Surinames, but they just have a very beautiful distinctive look. They tend to be a little bit smaller overall. This is a 5-year-old female. She's probably about 6 feet long. They have this kind of beautiful yellowish, tannish body color. This female has quite a bit of like pinkish scales and Just kind of a pinkish glow to her sides. She's actually going into shed right now. She's not quite as colorful as she normally is. And they're just a great species, or a great type of boa to work with if you can find them. This female looks super clean. I actually saw this female immediately after she was born. My buddy Mike Lucchese bred her, and she just looked different. She looked like something special, like very clean look overall. So this female I hope to breed, probably not next year, maybe the year after. But just love these Venezuelan true red tails. The true red tail may be the epitome of our colorful boa, but of course there's numerous other types of boas that are equally as colorful. And I think a lot of people gravitate towards the true red tails, especially beginners, and they think that they're this ultimate boa experience. But really that's kind of foolish in a way, because there's so many other very beautiful boas out there that are actually a lot easier to keep in captivity. And probably the number one on this list is the Colombian Boa. This is a branchial locality Colombian Boa. And although this animal is a Boa imperator, a common boa, not a true red tail boa constrictor, in my opinion, she's every bit as beautiful. These animals come from a location, if you look at a map of South America, the range of Boa imperator in Colombia is geographically pretty close to that of Boa constrictor. You just have the Andes Mountains separating the two. So these animals have a lot of the beautiful characteristics of the true red tail, but in general they're much easier to keep. They're also generally better pets. And so this particular animal was bred by my friend Michael Beach. She is a 2020 animal, so she's pretty good size for a 2-year-old. She's got a lot of beautiful colors. You can see she got this overall kind of orangish magenta color. I've never seen another boa with quite the same shade of color. And you can see her tail, although not quite as bright as a true red tail, she's got this beautiful kind of rusty brick red tail. So these animals are often known as Colombian red tails. Many pet shops just sell Colombian boas as red tail boas, and it's the subject of never-ending debate on the boa forums and the boa groups on social media. Frankly, I think it's a little bit foolish. You know, this animal is what it is. If you think it's a red tail, it's got red in the tail. If you don't think it's a red tail, that's fine. It's Boa imperator. It's a different species from the true red tail, but in my opinion, every bit as desirable. And I just love these animals. I got these guys just a couple years ago, so I haven't bred any yet. And I have a trio of 2 females and a male. But, you know, I probably would have picked these up sooner had I known how great they are to work with. And I'm really looking forward to working with these animals in the future. I have one more really colorful Colombian boa to share with you, and that's a form known as the Coops Pastel. And so this is a project that was started by Silvio Coops, a breeder in Europe, who started with some really colorful Colombian boas. He bred them together, and then he selected the most colorful in each generation to continue the project. And these animals, some of them were acquired by Vin Russo, who continued the project. And I had acquired a pair that was produced by Vin Russo. This is my female. So she's about 7 years old now. Unfortunately, she's going into shed, so her colors are a little bit dull. You can see kind of her milky colored belly. But hopefully you can still appreciate how colorful this animal is. She's got this deep salmon orange color. Just a really lovely animal. I had my first litter from this animal earlier this year, and I've got some really beautiful babies that are available right now actually. And these animals are just really intensely colored with lots of oranges. Some of them actually look like they were dipped in orange paint. It's pretty amazing. A lot of people, if they saw the photos, they probably would think that they're photoshopped because they're so orange. Almost looks like I took an orange paintbrush and just painted over them, but I can assure you these animals are really that orange. So Coops Pastel Colombian Boas are a great boa to get into if you want a really colorful pet boa that's going to be enjoyable to keep and impressive to look at. All the boas in the video so far would fall under the realm of locality boas, but of course many morph boas and morph boa breeders focus on selectively breeding for amazing colors. And I thought I'd show you a couple examples. So the first is what's known as a junglo, or a call junglo. So this particular animal has 3 genes: the call albino or amelanistic, the hypomelanistic, as well as the jungle gene. And so a little bit of background. Of course, one of the first types of Morph Boas was the albino or amelanistic, with the cow form coming out in the early 90s. And these animals lack the dark pigments. And although they started out with this really nice bright orange color, in general, as they grew up, they became really washed out looking, kind of a pale yellow. So people realized pretty quickly, if you breed in the hypomelanistic or hypo gene along with the albino gene, it really intensifies the color and the color retention, and the animals retain the color much better into adulthood. And then if you cross in the jungle gene as well, you get even more effects on the color. So this particular animal, you can see, has this really bright yellow color with these nice dark orange saddles. Her head has a lot of orange in it. And this particular animal has not lost her color as she's aged. She's now almost ready, almost sexually mature. Probably about 6.5, 7 feet, you know, good, robust boa. You can see she's kind of a little bit of a challenge for me to handle this morning. But the 3 genes together go really well. The albino, of course, gets rid of the darker pigments. The hypo intensifies the color as well as reduces the pattern somewhat. And the jungle has even more effects on the shapes of the saddles, and sometimes you get aberrancies and striping from the jungle. But the 3 genes really go well together to give this really intense bright orange-red snake. One more Morph Boa to share with you. This is the youngest animal in the video. This female is only a few months old, and she was born here earlier this year. So this is actually a super Moron jungle boa. And so the Moron is an incomplete dominant form of pastel. So if an animal has 1 copy of the Moron, it's called a Moron, and it's got this beautiful pastel coloration. But if an animal receives 2 copies of the Moron gene, 1 from each parent, it's known as a super Moron, and it has this intense deep red coloration. So I was really excited to produce this super Moron animal this year, who also has the jungle gene. This was actually the first year that I bred Morph Boas, and one of the exciting projects I've been working on for the last few years, getting ready for, is the Moron project. And so I bred a Moron jungle with a Moron jungle, and in this case I got 1 super Moron, so I was really excited about that. And this female just has this really intense deep reddish coloration. She's also got this aberrant shaped saddles from the jungle gene. So just really a cool looking boa, and you know, this animal I'm definitely planning on holding back. You know, I really look forward to watching this animal grow and, you know, see how her color develops as she gets older. But just a really intense example of a very colorful morph, the super Moron jungle. Getting back to the realm of locality boas, a few more really colorful animals to share with you. This is a Honduran firebelly boa, and this is a breeding project that was started around 20 years ago with a small group of really intensely colored animals that supposedly came from the island of Roatan off the coast of Honduras. And these animals are known for their beautiful reddish pinkish belly color. So this is a male that was born here in 2018. And another characteristic of the Honduran firebellies is they often have patternless bodies and partially patternless bodies or striped bodies. So I really like the look of this male and decided to hold him back. You can see he's got some patternless areas, especially towards his tail, and just really intense colors. This orange pinkish color just really drips off of his side and belly. Another thing that's cool about these animals is they've got a really distinctive head, a really short kind of stocky looking head, and these really beautiful bright orangish brown eyes. Just a really breathtaking looking animal. Unfortunately, Honduran firebellies have gotten really hard to find, and there's really not very many people working with them, so you rarely see them available anymore. So I hope to keep this project going and continue to produce these beautiful Honduran firebelly boas. I don't have any this year. I may or may not have some next year, but hopefully down the road I'll have several breeders and will be able to breed these animals almost every year. Some types of boas that aren't known for being particularly colorful do have particularly colorful bloodlines. And one example of this is the Bolivian short-tailed boa, or Boa constrictor amarali. Most of these animals have kind of a silvery gray appearance, and there's several bloodlines known as silverback bloodlines. But there's also a bloodline that was founded by Joe Terry that's known for kind of brighter orangish colors. This is a male of the Orange Crush bloodline from Joe Terry, and unfortunately this guy is pretty deep in shed right now. Seems like whenever I make a video, several of the animals I plan to use invariably turn out to be in shed. So his colors are not nearly as bright as usual, but this animal has kind of a very unusual, intense orangey magenta color. I've never seen another animal quite like it. I know I said that about my Branchia Colombian Boa earlier in the video, and in fact both of these animals have similar colors. Although the Branchia has kind of more of an orangish, this particular animal is kind of a little bit more purpley and a little bit darker, at least when he's not in shed. But just a really amazing looking colorful animal. These are also pretty hard to get, you know, not unlike most of the locality boas these days. I have a pair of them, and this is the second year in a row I've tried breeding them and no success so far. So we'll have to see. Hopefully things will be different next year, because really like these animals. It would be great to produce a litter of these Orange Crush Bolivian Amarali boas. One more boa for today's video. And I don't think any video on colorful boas would be complete without this one. This is a Hog Island Boa, one of the most colorful of the locality boas. These guys have also been in herpetoculture for at least the last 40 years or so, so a real long history of captive breeding of these animals. And they just have this amazing, beautiful coloration. They're kind of a naturally occurring hypomelanistic boa with these overall very light colors. And they have a lot of oranges and pinks, and a lot of them also have kind of blue and green tones to them as well. So they're really quite beautiful. So I have a pair of pure Sears bloodline animals. I also have a female from a different bloodline, and I produce the pure Sears bloodline. But one of my favorite litters, I think, is this one. This is a product of a Sears bloodline male with my unrelated bloodline female. That female is a little bit darker, and I think the slightly darker color that she contributes just really brings out the colors really nicely. These animals have a lot of contrast, a lot of pinks and oranges, and just really breathtaking looking. So of course I paired up the same female with the male again, and I didn't get anything, unfortunately. So I wish I could, you know, offer some more animals like this, but we'll just have to see. I did save some holdbacks. This is my male, and this guy is 2019 born, so he's getting pretty close, a couple years away from being ready to breed. But hopefully I should produce some more animals like this at some point in the future. So Hog Island Boas are great animals for both pet keepers and locality enthusiasts. Beautiful to look at, enjoyable to handle, and not too difficult as far as the husbandry, so I can't recommend them too much. Just a great boa to have in your collection if you like the locality boas, and very beautiful and colorful as well. So I hope you liked the video and it was somewhat helpful. As always, shoot me any questions or comments you have or ideas for future videos. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.